Welcome back to the shop. I'm MadRamper. Today we're going to be working on this gas tank. We are doing something I've never done before, so this may not be the right way, but we're going to struggle through it. We're going to make it happen. I've sumped dozens and dozens of tanks, but I've always used store-bought sump kits. So today we are going to make our own sump. We've got a new sheet metal brake that I've never used before, so we're going to try things out. So the problem with the universal sump kits are they are universal. They don't really fit anything. So you have to make it fit the tank, which is a hassle. It takes a long time. So I'm going to attempt today to make a sump kit that fits this tank that I can just reproduce and make sumping the tanks a whole lot easier. We have some new technology today, so hopefully the sound is better. I got a mic instead of using the mic on the camera, so hopefully you won't hear the lights as much as you did in the last video. So, all right, let's get started. The first thing I want to do on here is mark which side is the front. Worst thing could happen is we build the whole thing and then realize we sumped the front of the tank instead of the rear. So on these trucks, the fuel pump goes in the front. So we'll flip this over, mark this side front. Now we don't have to worry about making that mistake again. The plan for this side is to make it fit the ribs of the tank. The ribs make it difficult using the universal kit because you have to kind of cut and maneuver, especially around this the stock sump in the tank. So the universal ones are a little too long to fit perfectly, which means I have to notch around it. It takes a long time. So I'm going to try to make one that's a couple inches shorter so we don't interfere with the sump, but at the same time it's going to create the effect that we want, which is fuel going to the engine. So the first thing we want to do is measure where the ribs are, because that is the outer limit of where we want the sump to be. So the center of the tank is right here. So I basically want it centered. So I'm going to go 2 ribs on the outside of each one, and that's where we're going to make our marks. So on the outside of this rib and the outside of this rib, that's where we're going to be. So the actual sump is going to be on the inside, but we're going to build a flange into it to make it easy to just weld on top of it. It's always a good idea to write down your measurements so you don't have to go back and measure it all again. So I know I want to make the deep end of the sump 3 inches deep. So, and the back end is going to be basically flush with the tank. So what I'm doing here is I'm just going to take this paper that's not cooperating because it was rolled up for years. We're basically just going to cut out triangles. I'm going to make the whole thing out of paper, make sure everything fits. Then we're going to go back, transfer it on the steel, and start bending things up. All right, now that we have all our pieces made, we can start assembling it as if it was an actual sump. All right, there we go. We have finished playing with geometry. Basically, it's just a puzzle. You got to put all the pieces together. In the end, I don't want to weld the majority of this, so it's all going to get bent. So once we test fit it on the tank, we'll get to see if it actually fits, and then we'll go see if I can figure out how to use the bender. It looks like we're going to be good right here. All right, so I'm going to transfer this over to some metal, cut it out, and see what we can do. Alrighty, so now we have our print on the steel and we can start cutting. It's going to be a problem because I don't believe I have my saw here. Alright, so I don't have my saw here. I'm going to end up having to cut this with the angle grinder, which isn't the end of the world, but it's not as easy as just using the saw. But it's time for a break, drink some Pepsi. Not sponsored by Pepsi, but hey Pepsi, I like Pepsi, send me some Pepsi. Safety first. Whew, she's a little heavy. All right, let me figure out how to use this and I'll be back.
That fancy remote controls or what?
It's a
Is that for flashes?
it's a mic, because with the big mic, all you hear is the lights. It picks that up like almost louder than your voice.
So you're wearing a mic right now?
Yeah.
It's like dealing with a trooper.
Everything you say can and will be recorded. Yeah. It's probably holding about the same as the Wild Rides one.
It's a little deeper?
Yeah.
Set that's just been sitting there doing nothing. See, it's all about this body work.
It is. Never done body work before.
At the end of the day, you can say to yourself, still haven't. That's like the end of the day. When we get done with whatever we do to the Fairlane, I'm still gonna be like, still haven't.
Still not a body guy. This is gonna be interesting. Super thick welding the really thin.
I think it feels like it's exactly the same thing that Rod was using though too, isn't it?
Could be.
So it looks very similar.
And make sure I weld in the right direction too. There's no threads in the bottom.
I could have just ordered from Wild Rides.
Yeah.
Somebody told me to cut down on the production costs.
I thought it would. Except I got like 4 hours in this now.
Yeah, but it's your first one. So far, by doing the first one, you've taught me that I should buy the $4,000 brake and
or we just get the one from Wild Rides. Probably should be wearing safety glasses with this thing, huh?
especially if you're filming.
I'm good on that. This is pretty quiet.
Pretty
You like that, huh?
How'd that
You just have to put all the heat on the heavy part.
go? So there's no hole?
No hole.
Well then.
Not my first rodeo.
Welding, like Instagram. Yeah, now you probably put them too close, you can't get the torch in there.
That's why I got this big cup so I can stick it out real far.
I think you had the big cups and the fancy cups before anybody went viral.
Hey, all right. I put the threads on the right side.
Thank God. I like that time you serialized that thing for me, and then I was like,
Oops.
I always wait for you to put one of them on for me upside down too. Because the tank is always upside down.
Because it is upside down, so I have to put it upside down.
Yeah, but I keep waiting for that to happen by accident. I'm always like, thank God.
You'd almost think I knew what I was doing over here. Well, it's not there yet. Figures I weld all day long. I got a ½ inch to go, and that's where I'm going to stick it.
I was over here just trying to be like 2 feet. Like, well, let's see what it does. In the end, I wasted a whole lot of time.
Well,
Of course, now
it's
you
time we would have wasted tomorrow.
Now you know.
All right. Well, that's it for today. Join in tomorrow for the exciting conclusion.
I don't know if it'll be done.
It will get done. Will it be?
This whole thing, I don't know, but it'll be done at the end of the episode.
Will it be 20 minutes or 4 hours? It's only going to be 5 minutes for you. You'll never know, and I'll never tell. There's no markers. Hold on.